Welcome to the Perrysburg Podcast, episode 84. I'm your host, Perrysburg resident Kim Newlove. The Perrysburg Podcast is a resource for Perrysburg residents. We talk about what's in Perrysburg and why people like to live here. Our website is perrysburgpodcast.com. Today, we are talking about volunteer opportunities in Perrysburg. I'll get right to the point. What I am doing is compiling a list of volunteer opportunities in Perrysburg so that if you would like to get involved, or you have kids who would like volunteer hours, or you need help, you will be informed. Previous guests on the Perrysburg podcast have mentioned that they are looking for volunteers. I believe in signs. So I took that repeated request for volunteers as a sign that I should create a list of volunteer opportunities in Perrysburg. 3 examples of guests who have mentioned that they need volunteers are number 1, Jesse Stock from Partners for Clean Streams. He was in episode 72. We also had number 2 on my list here is Lauren Rush from the city of Perrysburg. She coordinates Perrysburg's Great American Cleanup every spring, and you can listen to her episode. That is episode 38. And third and finally is Brittany Huntley from Downtown Perrysburg, Inc. In episode 36, Brittany talked about what Downtown Perrysburg, Inc. does, and she always needs volunteers for all of those fun community events like Winterfest, which we just had last weekend, and Zip the Berg, which is a running event. It's, I believe, 4.3551 miles, right? Like our zip code 43551, 4.3551 miles. Kind of cool. But anyways, Brittany always needs volunteers as well. Those are just 3 examples. I would like to create a list that has more than just those 3 examples. Will my list be all inclusive? Will it include every single opportunity in Perrysburg, both the city and the township? No. But I will do the best that I can, and I need your help. Will I reach back out to those people that I just mentioned who have been on the show and need volunteers? Yes, absolutely. I'll add them to the list. I have a little bit of homework to do, so I will be reaching out. If you have been on this show and you have mentioned that you need volunteers, I will be reaching out to you very soon. Do I need help from you, my audience? Yes. If you know of a volunteer opportunity, get in touch with me. I will tell you how to do that in just a minute. I've got a Google form and an email address. All right, and then one more thing that I want to talk about. I want to make sure that you know that I'm going to take that information and create a second podcast episode about volunteer opportunities on the Perrysburg podcast. I need to share what I find out. I have heard the myth that people need to hear something about 8 times before they pay attention to it. You know, it's in the news, in the newspaper. Maybe they hear about it from a friend, or there's a flyer in their mailbox, or they get a piece of mail about something. With that in mind, this podcast just might be the thing that gets through to somebody who needs to hear about a volunteer opportunity from a podcast. So let me know what kind of help you need, and I will talk about it here on the Perrysburg Podcast. In review, I am calling upon Perrysburg residents from the city and the township. I need your help. Tell me what you need. Tell me about the volunteer opportunities so I can share them here on the Perrysburg Podcast. I personally believe that volunteering matters. You can make a difference by volunteering in our community. We are stronger together. We can help one another out. Now, how do you get in touch with me? I've got 2 ways. One is a Google form. I have set up a Google form to take your information. I've got a link to that in the show notes on perrysburgpodcast.com. And I've also got that same link in the description for this episode on your podcast players and YouTube. And the second way to get in touch with me is by email. You can reach me at kim@perrysburgpodcast.com. No matter which way you contact me, I need your name, your email address, your phone number, the name of the organization that the project you're proposing is associated with, a brief description of what you need help with, and when you need help. If you have anything else to share, please don't be shy, but also keep it brief. And that's all I have for you today. Thank you for listening to the Perrysburg Podcast, episode 84. The show notes are on perrysburgpodcast.com. In the show notes, you will find a link to that Google form that I mentioned, my email address, links to the 3 podcast episodes that I mentioned with Jesse, Lauren, and Brittany, and more. I've got all kinds of links on perrysburgpodcast.com. Go ahead and subscribe to or follow the Perrysburg Podcast on your favorite podcast player and YouTube to get each new episode right when it comes out. Thank you so much for listening today. Go ahead and share this episode with anyone who needs volunteers here in Perrysburg or anybody who's interested in volunteering. Thanks again for listening. I'll talk to you next Friday.